Hello, my name is Dustin Anderson. I'm a doctorate in athletic training student at Indiana State University. Today I'm going to be talking to you about evidence-based practice for my ATTR 811 class. Um, I guess when I think about practice-based research, it's sort of it's clinicians answering clinical questions. It's not a researcher answering a clinical question. It's actually the clinician themselves doing the research, developing the question, and coming to a meaningful conclusion that will help provide better health care for their patients. I've never really used practice based medicine before. I've used sort of action based research in the loosest sense possible, but nothing formal or as a group or as a collective as far as practice based research goes. Um, I think as far as this went as discussing issues with coworkers, looking up articles and coming up with an intervention then. But again, it wasn't a major component, or there wasn't many things happening outside just the local level of my athletic training room with anything, and it would be more reminiscent of action based research as far as practice based research. When I was at Auburn University, I did I did help with some research that could be characterized as practice-based research, but I wasn't I wasn't at the level of this is the clinical question, this is the problem, how we're going to fix it. It was more so I was a body that could take a temperature, or I could record readings. Like it was basically it. It was more like a worker bee type thing, as opposed to any type of collecting. It was I was just there to collect the data. I wasn't there to um, read the data and make any clinical decisions off of it. Um, I I sort of come from the old school way of athletic training from undergrad and graduate school. And when I was undergrad, I think that's when evidence based medicine was really coming to the forefront, and there was some suspicion about that with the clinicians that I was working with in rotations and things. It was more of a old athletic training mindset of this is my sport, this is what we're going to do, and this is what I got to work. I don't have to worry about any other ones. And it was just come in, do your job, treat the people, and go about your day. Or at least that's how it how it felt to me. Um, there was no collective. This is what we're seeing in this sport. Let's talk as a group to see what's going on. What's our resources as far as doing any type of research or any type of intervention to correct that problem. Um, I talked to professors and things about injuries and stuff that we were seeing, but it wasn't anything past what you would expect by taking a class in anatomy, physiology, or anything along those lines, or a clinical assessment and diagnosis class. There was no conversations about bigger picture and the implications of clinical practice or improving clinical practice. It was this is what we've been doing. This is sort of what's been shown to work, or what I found that's worked, depending on the clinician, and you went with that. In grad school, there was a little bit of talk about evidence-based medicine. I think I had one class in it, and that was it. There was no practice-based research at all. Again, it was sort of that segmented little bubble thing. Like I work volleyball, I work football, I work baseball. I'll come in, do my job, and if we have a staff meeting, it's just this is what we need this is what we need to have covered. I won't be here this day, or it was mostly just administrative stuff. It wasn't any type of bigger conversations about how to improve clinical practice with anything. I also went to smaller schools. Undergrad was a Division III school, and grad school was a Division II school. So there wasn't the resources of a bigger university and a in-depth research population there as far as like kinesiology or exercise physiology or physiology in general. It was it was just smaller. My undergrad, there were only 950 students, so you can imagine it's not a big school. And grad school, I think there was between 1,500 to 1,800 people. So I didn't really go to big research institutions. It was smaller private liberal arts schools, which I love it. I'm thankful for that I went there, but there wasn't the accessibility to that translational like level one research, or that theoretical basis where you can go to someone with a clinical question and you can take that multi-pronged attack with everything. It was more of a smaller community with everything. I think the biggest research institute that was closest to me in undergrad was Virginia Tech, and University of Tennessee. Just depends which way you went. In grad school, it probably would have been the University of West Virginia. Would have been the biggest one. And my current job, like it would be hard to do practice-based research. There's no research universities close to us. If we did have a question and we wanted to have their help and make a research-based network, it would be a little hard to do that one. I do work with the military, and I think they do great research, but again, athletic trainers are fairly new in the military, and it's going to be interesting to see if we can start working our way into research. And I think it would be beneficial to do practice-based research, especially in my setting, working with basic trainees, but it's just one of those things. I think it's still a fairly new concept for me, and if I've ever seen it in the past or if I've ever seen people do it in the past, I'm not for sure, but I don't think I have. Again, it's sort of been that traditional, you cover this sport, you cover that sport, and if we're going to talk, it's just for coverage. It's not for the bigger questions.